3 weeks before Klaus Schmidt drowned, he discovered something still functioning beneath a 12,000-year-old temple. The chamber walls were smooth as glass. The structure at its center hummed. Compasses spun. His team reported headaches, disorientation, nightmares they could not explain. Within days of his death, Turkish authorities filled the entrance with concrete. This is the story they do not want you to hear. This is what Klaus Schmidt tried to reveal before his heart stopped. And this is the truth that remains sealed beneath the Turkish highlands. The site that broke archaeology, Klaus Schmidt, was not looking for lost civilizations. He was a German archaeologist, conservative, meticulous. He believed human progress followed a logical sequence, primitive to advanced, simple to complex, slow, gradual improvement over millennia. In 1994, someone showed him survey data from a hill in southeastern Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. Previous archaeologists had dismissed it as a medieval cemetery. Schmidt noticed what they missed. The hill was artificial, man-made, and impossibly old. He began excavating in 1995. What emerged from the earth shattered everything. Massive T-shaped limestone pillars, 10 to 20 tons each, arranged in precise circular formations, carved with intricate reliefs of lions, foxes, scorpions, vultures, and snakes. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. The dating was impossible. Multiple testing methods confirmed it. Göbekli Tepe was built around 9,600 BCE, 6,000 years before Stonehenge, 7,000 years before the pyramids. It predated agriculture, pottery, domesticated animals, and written language. According to everything archaeologists believed, humans at this time lived in scattered bands, hunting and gathering, struggling to survive. They were not building 20-ton carved monuments. They were not organizing massive labor forces. They were not creating complex symbolic art. But here it was. Undeniable. Schmidt published his findings. Textbooks rewrote themselves. The narrative about human development fundamentally changed. But here is the catch. The deeper Schmidt dug, the more disturbed he became. Because what he found next did not just expand our timeline. It inverted it completely. The wrong direction. There is a basic principle in archaeology. The deeper you dig, the cruder the artifacts become. Sophisticated work near the surface, primitive attempts at the bottom. Cultures develop, skills improve, technology advances. At Göbekli Tepe, Schmidt found the exact opposite. The deepest, oldest enclosures showed the most advanced construction, the most precise geometry, the most sophisticated carvings. As he excavated upward through time, quality declined. Stones became smaller. Arrangements grew sloppy. Carvings turned crude. Göbekli Tepe was not developing, it was degrading. The craftsmanship appeared without predecessors. No practice pieces, no failed attempts, no gradual improvement. Complete mastery from the beginning, as if the builders already knew what they were doing. As if they had built structures like this before. In 2012, Schmidt said he had begun to think they were not looking at the beginning of something, but at the end. Göbekli Tepe was the final achievement of a culture already in decline. The builders had knowledge that was disappearing. They constructed this not as an innovation, but as a memorial, an attempt to preserve something being lost. We have been told Göbekli Tepe proves religion drove civilization, that hunter-gatherers wanted to worship so badly they invented architecture. But what if that story is backwards? What if these people were not beginning a journey toward civilization? What if they were survivors of a civilization that had already collapsed? Schmidt could not say this publicly. Not if he wanted to keep his career, but privately, he kept digging. The numbers that do not work, each pillar at Göbekli Tepe was quarried from bedrock a quarter-mile away, carved with stone tools, no metal, transported uphill, positioned precisely, erected vertically without cranes, pulleys, or any mechanical advantage. 20-ton stones, quarter-mile, uphill, rope, and human muscle. But here is the catch. Schmidt ran the calculations. He estimated regional population density based on available resources, calculated the calories required for such labor, factored in the hunter-gatherer lifestyle where every person needed to spend most of their time finding food just to survive. The numbers did not work. There were not enough people in the entire region to quarry, carve, transport, and erect these stones while simultaneously hunting and gathering enough calories to stay alive. Not without agriculture, not without a settled population. Except agriculture had not been invented yet. In 2011, Schmidt admitted publicly that they could not explain the logistics of Göbekli Tepe construction within current understanding of Neolithic capabilities. The labor requirements exceeded what the population could have provided. The site's own excavator was saying the official explanation did not add up, but he could not say what he really believed. Not yet. Because what he was finding in the lower levels made impossible labor forces seem trivial. The objects that should not exist in 2013, Schmidt's team discovered a small chamber beneath one of the deepest enclosures. It had been carefully sealed with fitted stones, deliberately hidden, 11,000 years ago. Inside, a collection of objects that made no sense. Smooth, geometrically precise items, some stone, some an unidentified material. They were not functional. They did not cut, grind, pound, or scrape. They were simply perfect forms. Too perfect. Schmidt wrote in his notes that they did not have a category for them. Colleagues dismissed the objects as later intrusions or natural formations, but Schmidt's methods were meticulous. The chamber had been sealed since construction. No possibility of contamination. He sent samples for analysis. Results came back confusing. Some objects contained trace elements that did not match local geology. One piece appeared to be a copper alloy. Copper metallurgy would not be developed in this region for another 4,000 years. The lab suggested contamination. Schmidt ran additional tests. Same results. He tried to publish. Papers were rejected. Reviewers said the claims were extraordinary. They recommended he focus on conventional aspects of the site. So Schmidt stopped trying to publish. But he did not stop digging. The chamber. In 2014, Schmidt's team reached the lowest level of Göbekli Tepe, the oldest enclosures. Radiocarbon dating suggested 12,000 years. Maybe older. They were excavating around one of the massive T-shaped pillars when they noticed the bedrock beneath it was hollow. Ground-penetrating radar revealed a cavity system extending deep into the rock. Not natural caves, carved chambers, regular, geometric, deliberately constructed. Schmidt made the decision to excavate. What they found changed everything. But here is the catch. In a letter to a colleague written weeks before his death, Schmidt described a chamber with walls smooth as glass and dimensions precise to the millimeter. In the center stood a structure he struggled to describe. He called it something between a machine and an altar, made of stone, but stone that had been transformed somehow. Containing symbols unlike any written language, diagrams unlike anything recognizable, and it was still active. The hum was low, subsonic. Team members said they felt it in their teeth before they heard it, a vibration that seemed to come from inside their own skulls. One researcher described it as standing inside a living thing, something breathing, something aware. Electromagnetic field detectors spiked erratically. Compasses would not settle. Flashlight batteries drained in minutes. 2 cameras stopped working entirely. Several researchers reported headaches within the first hour. Pressure behind the eyes. A feeling that something was pushing against their thoughts. Then came the disorientation. Difficulty tracking time. One team member emerged convinced he had been down there for 20 minutes. He had been gone for 6 hours. He had no memory of what happened in between. Then came the dreams. Team members who spent extended time in the chamber reported nearly identical nightmares. Massive floods sweeping across continents, fire falling from the sky, cities they did not recognize, built with technology they could not identify, collapsing into churning black seas, millions of people running, nowhere to run, and always at the end, the same image, stone pillars standing alone in a field of ash, covered in symbols no one could read. A final transmission. A last desperate message. One researcher, speaking anonymously after Schmidt's death, said the dreams felt less like nightmares and more like memories. Memories that did not belong to him. Memories of something he had never seen. As if the chamber itself was trying to show him something, trying to make him understand. He quit archaeology 3 months later. He never said why. The chamber's construction defied explanation. The walls showed no tool marks. The stone appeared to have been melted or molded, not carved. The central structure was a single piece of shaped bedrock. This should be physically impossible. You cannot shape bedrock in place without removing it first. The symbols covered every surface in precise rows, abstract, geometric, mathematical. They reminded observers of circuit diagrams or star charts, but far more complex. Some patterns seemed to repeat with variations. Linguists found regularities, suggesting meaning. Mathematicians found recursive structures. Computer scientists saw something that looked disturbingly like code, but no one could decipher it. The symbols predated writing by 6,000 years. Yet they were clearly intentional communication. Someone was trying to transmit information across time. Schmidt documented everything. Hundreds of photographs, detailed sketches. He brought in geologists, engineers, physicists. Nobody could explain what they were looking at. The final interview. 3 weeks before his death, Klaus Schmidt sat down for his last recorded interview. The footage was later confiscated. Only audio transcripts survived. The interviewer asked directly, "What do you think Göbekli Tepe really is?" Schmidt's answer abandoned every academic caution of his career. He said he no longer believed it was a temple. He thought it was a facility, an installation, part of a network of sites across the region that we are only beginning to discover. Built by people with knowledge far beyond anything we attribute to that period. He was not suggesting aliens, but he said we have no idea what humans were capable of 12,000 years ago. We have no written records, no detailed artifacts, just stone tools and bones. We have assumed they were primitive because that assumption fits our narrative of progress. Because it makes us feel special. Because it means civilization is always advancing, always improving, always moving toward us. Göbekli Tepe proves that assumption is wrong. Whoever built this had advanced understanding of geometry, astronomy, and engineering. They understood acoustics. They understood materials science. They understood things we cannot even identify. They were as sophisticated as we are, possibly more so in ways we have not figured out yet. And then something happened. That knowledge was lost. Civilization collapsed. Not for the first time, Schmidt said. For the most recent time. When asked what happened to these people, he said he did not know, but he believed the site itself was meant to tell us. The carvings are not decorative. They are informational. The pillars are not monuments. They are markers, warnings. The entire complex is a message across time. A message about what happened. A message about what could happen again. And we have been so focused on the archaeological curiosity that we never tried to understand what it is actually saying. The cover-up. On July 20th, 2014, Klaus Schmidt died suddenly of a heart attack while swimming near the excavation site. He was 61. No history of heart problems, no warning signs. Just weeks after making the most significant discovery of his career. Just weeks after telling anyone who would listen that everything we believe about human history is wrong. The timing has led to persistent speculation. Official reports say his death was natural. Stress, heat, overwork. Nothing suspicious. Within 48 hours, a coordinated response began. The underground chamber was declared structurally unstable, too dangerous for further excavation. The entrance was filled with concrete, not sealed with removable barriers. Filled permanently. Ground-penetrating radar studies of the area were prohibited. Any researcher who wanted to scan the deeper levels was denied permission. Schmidt's photographs and notes were confiscated by the Turkish government. His family was told the materials were state property, protected under antiquities law. Requests for access have been denied ever since. Even requests from established academic institutions. Even requests from Schmidt's own former colleagues. The objects from the sealed chamber were transported to a facility in Ankara for analysis. They have never been publicly displayed, never photographed, never scientifically described in any peer-reviewed publication. Official reports state only that they were of limited archaeological significance. Objects that contained impossible copper alloys. Objects that did not match local geology. Objects that should not exist. Limited significance. Team members who worked on the chamber excavation went silent. Most refuse to discuss it even today. Those who speak do so anonymously, mentioning only unusual findings and things they could not explain. One researcher told a German magazine that what they found down there changed how he understood human history. Then he refused to elaborate. Then he stopped returning calls. The documentary team that filmed Schmidt's final interviews had their footage seized at the Turkish border. Hours of video. Gone. Violation of antiquities laws, they were told. Only audio survived, preserved by the interviewer who had made copies before crossing. Göbekli Tepe remains open for tourists. Walkways, interpretive signs, gift shops, the world's first temple, they call it, built by clever hunter-gatherers who wanted to worship their gods. The same comfortable narrative Schmidt spent his final years trying to overturn. His colleagues remember him as the brilliant scientist who discovered the site. His later claims about ancient technology, lost civilizations, the site being a warning rather than a temple, are quietly dismissed. The tragic decline of a once rigorous researcher who became obsessed with his own discovery. That is the official story. The chamber remains sealed, the photographs remain classified, the objects remain hidden, the truth remains buried. The message we refuse to hear. Look at the carvings again. Really look at them. The pillars depict comet impacts, catastrophic floods, mass extinctions. They show astronomical configurations that match records of cosmic events around 10,800 BCE. The Younger Dryas Impact Event, a period when global temperatures plummeted almost overnight, when sea levels rose catastrophically, when megafauna went extinct across multiple continents simultaneously, when something terrible happened to the Earth. The carvings at Göbekli Tepe show this. They document it. They warn about it. What if Göbekli Tepe was not built before civilization? What if it was built by a civilization that was destroyed? What if the people who carved those pillars were survivors? Refugees of a global catastrophe trying to preserve what knowledge they could before it disappeared completely? What if they knew their world was ending and decided to leave a message? What if the warnings carved into those stones, the depictions of cosmic disasters, the careful documentation of astronomical positions, the deliberate burial of the site as if to protect it for the future, were meant for whoever came next, were meant for us? Klaus Schmidt spent the last year of his life trying to make people understand. He abandoned academic caution, risked his reputation, alienated his colleagues, spoke plainly about discoveries that defied explanation. He knew what he had found. He knew what it meant. And he tried to tell us. And then he died. And his findings were sealed in concrete. And the story returned to something safe, something comfortable, something that does not keep you awake at night. Göbekli Tepe is still there. The pillars still stand. The symbols still cover their surfaces. 95% of the site has never been excavated. What else is down there? What else have they sealed away? Similar sites keep appearing across the region. Karahan Tepe, Harbetsuvan, Sefer Tepe, all impossibly sophisticated, all from the same period, all unexplained. A network of ancient installations, built by people we cannot identify, for purposes we cannot understand. The pillars are not monuments, they are archives. The carvings are not art, they are data. The entire complex is not a temple. It is a time capsule, a warning beacon, a desperate attempt to communicate across 12,000 years to whoever might survive the next cycle. And we have sealed their message in concrete and built a gift shop on top of it. According to Klaus Schmidt's final warning, that might be the most terrifying thing of all. Because if he was right, if Göbekli Tepe really is a message from a destroyed civilization to us, then ignoring it means we are doomed to repeat their fate. The pillars have waited 12,000 years for someone to listen. They are still waiting, and somewhere beneath the Turkish highlands, behind the concrete barriers and restricted access signs and comfortable lies we tell ourselves about human history, the truth that cost Klaus Schmidt everything remains buried. What do you think Klaus Schmidt really found? And why do you think no one wants us to know? Tell me in the comments below. If you want more deep dives into history's buried secrets, smash that like button and subscribe. See you in the next one.